Hey everyone, welcome to the Powered by Iron Health podcast. We're here to create a community that raises the standard of health and wellness. Today we're going to be focused on that community word. And it's going to take a little backstory into Alina and my business life and how we started and merged into Iron Health and what it is now. So we'll go back into our backstory. It's always fun to learn a little bit. And you'll learn a little bit about us along this journey. And hey, maybe it'll bring you value if you want to open a business. Maybe it'll make you say no and run for the hills.
No, never.
But we hope it gives you any value, right? So, how did you start your first business?
I started back in 2016. It was actually the idea of my ex at the time, who thought there was a need for spin studios in the area, and I just went with the flow, honestly. Don't ask me what I was thinking. I wasn't happy at my job. I was actually interviewing. My dream was to work in the city and be like this glam marketing gal living in the city.
Like Sex and the City that you were watching since you were
8 years old.
8 years old?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, of course it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wanted to be Sex and the City.
I wanted to be Sex and the City.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what character I wanted to be, though. I'll let you decide. And at the time, I was just really not happy in my job, but I also was really into fitness. So I was like, screw it. Why not? Why not open up a fitness studio locally? And that's what happened. I did not last long with my partner as a relationship or a business partner, but without his push, I would not be where I'm at today. I don't even know if I would have met you. So that's a blessing. But that's how I started. I didn't start, we talk about this all the time, entrepreneur by design and desire, or like being pushed into it in a way, like without realizing or wanting to. That was me. I actually at one point was saying I would never own my own business because I worked for small businesses and I saw the owners that were completely miserable, and I was like, I never want to do that. And I think it's a mindset and also what you do. And when the opportunity was presented, I took it and ran with it. So that's how I started.
That's pretty cool.
That was my why at the time. And then how we started, it was going to be a spin studio, and the space that we saw and viewed that was just bigger than the original vision that we had was really great to offer more than just spin. And that's what we did. So I had a business plan. I took a couple of business courses in my day, and I came up with what our break even would be and hit the ground running. So it ended up being incredible.
What were some of those challenges in the first 1 to 2 years that stick out to you?
Hiring people. I remember I had no idea what it was going to be like to hire fitness trainers and spin coaches. And everyone thinks that they're the shit and that they're going to bring all their following with them and yada, yada. And that didn't happen at all. I still had to get all of our own clients. Maybe a couple people came from other places, but we're talking in this area, there's a lot of commercial gyms. There's not that many boutique places where someone goes to yoga for one studio and then they go to this studio for... People go to the gym and they get their big box classes, which are pretty cookie cutter in my opinion, but that meant a lot of people weren't following and flocking from the gyms that people said they would be bringing. So definitely hiring good staff and teachers and coaches at that time. And what I started to do was hire internally. So if I saw a client or a member that just had a great energy and that was really passionate and excited walking in, I was like, would you want to get spin certified? Would you want to get, certified to be a trainer? And I harnessed that, and that has been the best way for me to get people to teach that come from the product and that understand it and then are passionate about it. So that was one of the biggest lessons. 2 would be to have an agreement if you're not married to somebody, because we don't have a written agreement, but we're married, so that's different. That would be another one. Have some lawyers involved, and because that was a big challenge, buying my ex out. And I would say it wasn't a challenge. I actually did pretty well. I was doing okay, But joining a mastermind group was so valuable, and going to seminars and like trade shows kind of, but in that industry, finding groups within the industry that are going to help grow. I wish I started that sooner. I did do that, but I did it later on. And again, we somehow made it by, got clients and whatnot for the first year and a half or so. But the more energy I put into understanding my business and how my business operates in this space, the better it did. So that's another, it wasn't a huge challenge because I didn't know it was a challenge at the time. But when I started going to these events, I realized like, oh shit, there's a lot to learn here and I'm not doing nearly as much as I can. So what about you? How did you start Iron Health? Your story is my favorite story.
Which part?
Start it from the bottom.
Yeah, so I always tell people I'm a business owner at heart. I just happen to be a PT. And I was been working since I was like 13 years old. So I always knew I wanted to work and figure something else out that wasn't working for someone. My dad took me to work on a construction site at like 15. And I was like, I am not doing this shit for the rest of my life. Not breaking my ass to do this. Fast forward, I went to high school. I tore my ACL and I had a great PT. And my surgeon really didn't give a crap about me. And I was like, I could be a PT. I'm going to do that. And my PT also was a business owner. So I was like, this is great. You can help people and own a business at the same time. So I went to college, went to grad school, became a PT. I started my first job under a really strong leader, held people accountable, really had a great culture, a great company. And I was like, this guy's awesome. Left that job in a year, went to a really weak leader. I was there for I was miserable at that point. I was like, I can't be here. It just didn't align with who I was. And at a certain point, I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I found a gym space and I kind of rented a corner of the room. And the guy had pictures of himself up in the room, like literally pictures of himself. It was pretty wild. So I'll be treating my client on the table and there's like pictures around here. During that process, I had no idea what was going to happen, right? I was working another job to make sure I could survive. And just being like, is this going to work? I don't know. I have no idea. And the rest is history. I was able to grow that in 6 months, found my own space, and then started to scale. Now, for lessons, that would be the question. I would say, I wish we had a better system early on. Like, I just want to go. I'm in go mode and growth mode. That's how my mind used to work. Now it's like, wow, you really need to have your systems in place. You need to have your people in place, to your point, employees. But everyone needs to be really rowing in the same direction and the culture needs to be tight. You need to have a good culture, so you can't delegate that because it has to be who you are. If I'm the hardest worker in the room and I have staff and they're not at that caliber or someone's not ready to push that same level, it's like we're never going to get to where I think the vision can go. So that's a lesson that I learned.
How did you know it was time to take the leap? You said it took about 6 months, but how did you know that you were going to be able to make it from the table that you were renting?
I didn't. I would say the first indicator was I would go to the bank to deposit a check, and the teller was like, "It's amazing. Like every time you come here, like the money doesn't go down. It didn't go up. It just stayed the same." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on." So at a certain point when I had enough money in the bank to be like, all right, I got this much cushion, I could live, if shit hit the fan, if I could live for X amount of months on my own with the money in the bank, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take a risk and see what happens. So I remember that being a really indicator. The guy was like, yeah, you just bring checks in and like the money really doesn't go down. You don't really spend it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I'm just growing it. I'm growing a nest egg. And the rest is just naivety and risk. Honestly, I think a part of it as a new business owner is you're so naive. When I would first open a business, I was 27? There would be a lot of people who in their 40s who didn't open a business and they're like, wow, that's pretty wild that you're doing that so young. I'm like, I just don't know any different. That's just what we did, right? That's just who we are.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing and a curse to be naive in that category. So that's kind of how I knew to take the first one. The second Iron Health was, I was just go mode. I was like, I want to get to 11 offices. There was a big vision written on it. It's changed since then. But 11 offices, let's go. Let's just go as fast as we can. And I found an office in Ardsley because I used to work in the river towns. I walked into the office and it was completely built out as a gym. It was too good to pass up. Like the space was already there because Anyone who has had a business, the space costs a lot of money. Now the space was already built out. It saved me so much money. So I just did it. Spearheaded it, treated it. I had PTs in the other place now and started to grow it.